Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 1. In this group, there are 5 members, namely myself, Siti Hatijah, Deky Alifiansyah, Danisty, Nindy, Oktavia, Khairul Hidayat, and finally Tiara Agustina. In this video, we will reading a story about the origin of Tanto by Abdul Waris. The arid condition of Madura Island barely provide water. A long time ago, wells were dug hundreds of meters for water in the valley and mountainside, but only few spots out water. Some holes were open without any water. In fact, the well that had water would run dry when the drought came. In a small village in Madupote, an area between Batang-Batang and Batu Putih, there lived a husband and wife, Matali and Sunima. They led a loving life despite not having any children in their old age. They had been married for 25 years, but no child was born to bring more joy and completeness in their life. Sunima tirelessly prayed and faced to ask God for a child. So did Matali. He even willingly went to some shamans for help so that they would have a baby soon. He had done all the advice, from the simple to the most difficult one, such as sleeping out in Rongkorong Hill 40 days, but with no success. Matali and Sunima had spent their wealth to visit shamans and pay for the ritual expense in order to have a child. Moreover, their wealth was all gone because they had fine to pay to a cruel and stubborn. The king was widely known with the name King Dul Kemi Banakeron, who ruled Madupote. Madupote was actually a rebellious kingdom whose illegal authority was still under the leadership of Panembahan Joharsari, the king of Sumenep. King Dul Kemi gave an order that every childless family must pay 400 cents fine each month. The king claimed that the money would be used to pay workers who were assigned to collect water from the valley, hills, and river that still had water. Those workers did the job every day to fulfill the need of water in the king's village. Families who had children were free from the fine. They just had to send their children collect water for the king. The cruel king became more merciless when the drought came. He would heartily order underage children to collect water the whole day. Whenever those children took a break or felt exhausted, the king would tell his soldiers to lash and punish them. The king's behavior had put the people in anxiety. Those childless families had to pay the fine, while those who had children would have to watch their little kids crying bucket full and water in the hot sun. They also had to helplessly watch their kids get tortured under the surveillance of the king's soldier. Even worse, the people had a severe shortage of water because the king had taken most supply to the village. One day, Matali and Sunima had no choice but to roast cassava for food because the water they had left was only enough for wudu. Most of their neighbors complained that they suffered from the king's pitiless policy. Many children often arrived home bruised or injured, while the others were found so exhausted and weak. Upon arriving home, many of the children got sick because throughout the day they were forced to bring water from several wells that were many kilometers away from Madupote. Matali and Sunima were having a new habit. Each night they visit the neighbor whose children were sick. Matali usually brought them some roasted cassava. Roasted cassava became their daily food of choice since the severe shortage of water. Because water were not needed to roast cassava. When visiting one of their neighbors, Sadikin, Matali could not hold back his tears when he heard about the 6-year-old Sulaiman, Sadikin's son. Sulaiman was very sick because of the torture he got when working to get water for the king. How did you get all this, Bro Sulaiman? Matali gently asked. This happened when I brought water to the village, Grandpa. I was ordered to take water from the village Pangabesan that was 3 kilometers away, and I had to walk through the rocky side of Montora Hill. I barely found a tree there, so that I had to walk on the rocky path in the very hot sun. Then you got exhausted? Yes, Grandpa. Besides those sharp rocks and the hot sun, I have carried a pair of big bucket made of palmyra leaves. Matali shook his head and said no word. His tears began to roll. It was just too hard for him to accept that a little boy like Sulaiman had to take such a heavy burden. Did you fill your big bucket full? Sunima asked. Yes, Grandma. In fact, one king guard who watched over me told me not to spill the water, not even a single drop. If I did that, he will whip me over and over. What a heartless man! Matali spoke while wiping away his tears. It did not stop there, Grandpa. Whenever I felt so tired and took some rest, they will whip me again. How many times did you go back and forth from the well to the village? Day and tired day I brought back 12 buckets of water to the village along with various torture. Did they feed you?
They just gave me 4 cups of steaming taro. They were not bigger than in all those times because for the good, I was just a little kid who did not need much food. There were even worse stories. Nyai Naima, an old woman who lived alone, was found unconscious with bleeding lips after being kicked by 10 king's soldiers for failing to pay the fine. Day after, it was not only the children who got sick due to the cruelty, but also 3 parents. They were getting sick because of the mental pressure resulting for watching their children being tortured every day. Almost everyone in Madura were sick. Only few were able to recover, but many died of their sickness. Eventual weather problem become worse and decade a now problem among the people. After the ritual of sending prayers, the people usually wanted to discuss the problems in the neighborhood. We have so many problems here, they're all men. Water shortage, daily fits and deaths caused by disease. I have heard is insane because of mental pressure. I neglect information mentally not will caressing his bird about his hair, for I will and lifted up to head and looked at the sky. Yes, you are right. Your problems are money, but the root of those problems is the song. Our king has been unfair and acting cruelly. Mentally answer call kami. So what? So what we do other than praying their almond? Mentally took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Will bended his head again. I do have their almond. Discover spearing in Menduport was as difficult as finding a net in hashtag. However, their persistence finally paid off. A spearing was allocated in the of mountain hill. Hand in hand, the people dug the spring in trust and security so that the king would know it. After the match depth, water spurted out swiftly. The people smiled happily. Since then, 10 people began to take water from Madura hill toward a scraped path so that the places would not know it. Many were happy with the wellspring, including Natalie. Things were getting better and better for Natalie when he found his wife most pregnant. Natalie just called on not be hyper. In jail, Natalie had to go to full days each day. He was weakened by the good will hold back his one failing that missed his sweet pregnant Sunima no so much. He should have left happy day with his pregnant wife after years looking for a kid, but they were separated instead. During his time in jail, Natalie never wasted a single night. His nights were full of prayers so that both his wife and the baby will always be fine. Mentally happened that some Monday his great cloud grow a warrior that would fight.
While in jail, Natalie often thought that the king's tyranny had displaced people's life. Meanwhile, Sunima often said there is trials being pregnant. She was without her elder husband. Only her mother always kept her accompanied. But she was her for Sunima during the day only and would return home at night to her own house in the next village. In her time without her mother company, she would feel really lonely and would miss her husband Natalie even much more. In her cry, she talked to her unboxed baby inside her body. Sweetie, you have been so lonely without your father here. This is all because of that great king. Sweetie, when you are grown up someday, I hope you can defeat the king who has been always worst people. At her 8 months pregnancy, Sunima became very poor. In her late pregnancy, Sunima often had dreams of which she met her husband on a hill. After leaving that some dreams several times, she began to worry. She thought that her dream could be either a good or a bad thing. After listening to her doctor, who told her about her dream, Sunima mother something in the material her head and put the polyper to her lips. Do not tell anyone about your dreams. I am afraid someone will think about it and he'll be very angry at what is happening in your dreams. So, do you know what my dream means, mother? I really want to know. I have no idea, darling, but I said something good from your dreams. In jail, mentally after cried too, he always talked how hard Sunima's day during her labor games. After 9 months, the wet baby came. It was a boy. He was born of pretty and triple. Right after sunrise, when the wife finished bathing the baby on a bamboo bed, her mother came. She then listened to her question for her it was an emergency situation. This is a good day. We had better give him a name right now. Cinema's mother suggests. The midwife not will cinema work at the moment. Oh, we'll give the name mother before the father be set away. He had left me name that somehow be your first name. Your father asked me to keep the name just for you. Jill before because for him the name is very special. He got it after meeting on Little Hill. What you give me? What is that gift name, mother? Landauer. The name came from a heroic figure who personally was in the people. Well, if the father wishes, I am not to take name for my son, mother. Then Cinema's son was given the name Landauer. Since Landauer refers Cinema, house was now great in England. The house was not only filled with Cinema, was not available no send any information about the birth of Landauer of the husband. In fact, Cinema had not received any wish further impulsive. Time went by. Landauer grew to an adorable daughter. Meanwhile, the people life was much worse. Sunima the verses did not call no a several of ever Landauer.
Landauer never hesitated to try to get this father children that was hanged on the wall, next to the window. Anytime he watched those village kids got beaten up and tortured when taking water. Unfortunately, he was too small, unable to reach this father weapon. All the could do was just raising his hand as high as he could. Each time, watching his sons attempt to get the children, Sunima just smiled and shook her head. Daur, what are you going to do with that children? Moncha Sunima asked. Daur will kill this cruel god who have tortured our friend, mother. You are not big enough. You need to grow bigger. That is why you have eat a lot so that your hand can reach the children. Anytime I ask you to finish your meal, you have to finish it. Sunima took Landauer using the moment to purpose it. Landauer saw that he would eat more. Landauer's appetite was lower than the other kid at his age. If I eat too much, I will sleep too often. Those who sleep often are friends of the devil. Just look at those cruel soldiers, mother. They become devil, friends for eating too much. Landauer respond will instantly walk out to the terrace. Sunima frowned. She left confused with Landaur's response that were often illogical, but he always came up with logical answer. Sunima also thought that Landaur had already acquired adult way of thinking, although still in his early age. Another frightening fact crawled in her mind: the miraculous king of Madupot. In these 9 years of age, Landaur started to practice fasting, following his religious teacher, Kiai Mahfud. Landaur would fast on Che every 2 days. Strangely, his body grew much bigger than the typical children, only 9 years old. Landaur had already been as high as his mother during their banters. Sunima usually asked his son about his fast-growing body. Landaur would answer the question, "So, I can get my father out from prison." Landaur obviously had learned another sad fact of his imprisoned father. The guards were furious and threatened Sunima that they would kill Landaur. Hearing the threat, Sunima hysterically cried. It was not until the third visit that the guard could finally meet Landaur. Landaur, with hospitality and good manner, welcomed the guard, sick of them, in the sitting room, but those guards yelled at him instead. Landaur tried to stay calm and once again politely asked them to go into the sitting room. However, they act unmannerly and challenged Landaur to fight. Landaur was left with no choice but to accept the challenge. It was on against 6. It did not take long before Landaur won the fight, leaving his opponent on the ground bleeding without any weapon. Landaur did not find any difficulty to defeat the 6 soldier. Strangely, there was no crack on Landaur's skin, although he was hit many times with sword, matched and fluid by those soldiers. At the end, the soldier badly wounded left Sunimas from here. The king was enraged to find 6 soldiers entering the place with injuries and bleeding bodies. He felt so humiliated because his best soldiers were easily defeated. The king then ordered his general accompanied by Arch to go to Sunima's house. This time the king did not give an order to arrest Landaur, but to kidnap Sunima and put her in jail. This is only way to hurt Landaur, the king told his soldier.
2 days later, when he arrived from his journey, Landaur knew what happened to his mother. He was so sad to know his mother being kind pet when they was not home. The next day, Landaur decided to go for a medication before coming to the place to bring his parents out of the prison as well as set the people free. He slept the celurit in his bed, then headed for Asta Guranggaring, shrine of Guranggaring, to meditate. Asta Guranggaring was where Landaur's spiritual teacher, Kiai Mahfud, was buried. Asta Guranggaring was located in the east of Lombang Beach, in Sumeneb. There, Landaur performed his meditation to pray so that God would show him the best way to solve his problems. People say that during his meditation, Landaur was sitting decently cross-legged on a big dead stone, facing Mecca. Landaur meditated for 4 years, 4 months, and 4 days. During his meditation, Landaur ate only a palmyra fruit
once in a month. The Palmyra fruits were carried by a pigeon that guarded the shrine. After finishing his meditation, right after the last midnight, a shaft of light appeared and got into Landaur's body. Next, Landaur felt so light and warm. The light disappeared in Landaur's body. It gave nothing. In fact, Landaur's telluric ozone vanished along with the light disappearance. After doing his morning prayer, Landaur took a short sleep. After waking up, he found his body very big and tall, like a giant that he knew from his mother's stories. The big stone he had been sitting on while meditating smashed into pieces, unable to take Landaur's extreme weight. Carefully, Landaur tried to get up. When standing up straight, he could see the distant place and village, saying he was higher than even the tallest coconut tree. When Landaur was standing up, suddenly within the sky, there emerged Yai Mahfuz's voice as if he was whispering to Landaur. Daur, go walk to the southwest, past through people's feet. Keep walking straight to the direction until you get to the king's palace. Defeat that cruel king. Set free your parents and the people who were imprisoned. Go now. Landaur moved his legs. Each time he stepped on the ground, his foot sank 3 meters deep into the land, and when he pulled in his footprint left a spring. The people, who were immediately scared of Landaur's appearance, were so happy and danced with glee to see water swiftly spurted. Purple intrigues rushed to the spring made by Landaur's feet. Once arriving to the place, Landaur stood before the gate. The king's soldiers gathered with shouting Landaur with arrows, but their attempt was wasted. King Dulukeme Banakeron finally appeared fully equipped with his armor and weapons. He was surprised to find Landaur's gigantic figure. The king realized that he was only as big as Landaur's figure. Landaur's stomping feet caused an earthquake. The people and all prisoners shouted with joy to see Landaur's victory. All of the king's soldiers surrendered. Next, Landaur's hand pulled and removed the prison bars with ease. When Landaur's excitement culminated, his body suddenly sank to his normal size. His mother then introduced him to the old man. It was Matali, Landaur's father, whom he had never seen before. Landaur, Sunima, and Matali hugged each other and cried. However, Landaur paused to give back Madupote to Panembahan Mandaraga, the son of Panembahan Joharsari. Since then, there was no torture or tax anymore. Great harvests came from rich and productive fields. Landaur footprints along the way from Asta Guranggaring to the palace kept gushing out that the people in Madupote would never run out of water. The Tanto, well believed to be Landaur's footprints, continues to flow. They are only there They are only their meters deep. We can find those wells toward the southwest, starting from the east part of Lombang Beach to the place. The distance between one well to the next is 1 kilometer. However, currently there are only few left. Some of them are located in the smart place called Bung Dua in the village of Gapura Timur.
Maybe that's all we can say about the story, the origin of Tanto Well. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.